January 22nd, 1879, a supply depot in South Africa, and 39 British soldiers, half of them already sick or wounded, are about to face 4,000 Zulu warriors, fresh from annihilating 1,700 troops at Isandlwana that same morning. The Zulus have every advantage. They outnumber the British 40-1. They've just scored the greatest indigenous victory against a modern army in history. Their warriors are elite regiments, married veterans carrying white shields, the closest thing the Zulu nation has to a guards unit. They're so confident they're disobeying their own king's orders not to cross into British territory, because this looks like an easy mop-up operation. 12 hours later, 500 Zulu warriors are dead. The British have lost 17 men, not 170. 17-day hospital is on fire with patients trapped inside. Soldiers are hacking through walls with bayonets to save dying men, while Zulus pour through the doors. One private kills 6 attackers in a row at a single doorway. Another drags a man with a broken leg through flames, breaking his leg again in the process. They fire 20,000 rounds of ammunition. When it's over, they have 900 bullets left. One more charge would have finished them. The Zulus set the hospital roof on fire to smoke out the defenders, but the flames light up the battlefield so well that the British can see every attacker coming. A 24-year-old sergeant leads the defense and lives to be 91, dying on VE Day, 1945. The 2 young officers in command have never seen combat before. One of them has been at this outpost for exactly 3 days, and 11 Victoria Crosses are awarded, the most ever given for a single action by one regiment. Ever. This is the Battle of Rorke's Drift, where impossible odds became an immortal legend, where sick men became heroes, and where makeshift walls of biscuit boxes and corn sacks stopped the most fearsome warriors in Africa. By the end of this video, you'll understand how a burning building saved the defenders, why wounded soldiers kept fighting when they couldn't even stand, and how 2 lieutenants with 0 combat experience orchestrated one of the most brilliant defensive actions in military history. Let me set the stage for this miracle. January 1879. The British Empire wants South Africa's resources. High Commissioner Sir Bartle Frere sends King Cetshwayo an impossible ultimatum: dismantle your entire military system in 30 days. The Zulus refuse. On January 11th, 3 British columns invade Zululand. Lord Chelmsford leads the centre column across the Buffalo River at a place called Rorke's Drift, a Swedish mission station turned supply depot. Nobody expects what's about to happen. Rorke's Drift is 2 thatched buildings near a river ford. One's a hospital, one's a storehouse. It's boring, it's safe. Lieutenant Gonville Bromhead commands B Company of the 24th Regiment, 139 men guarding supplies and watching over 35 sick soldiers. Lieutenant John Chard, a Royal Engineer, arrived 3 days ago to fix some river bridges. He's never seen combat, neither has Bromhead. They're about to get the education of their lives. January 22nd, 4 a.m. Chelmsford takes most of his force to hunt the Zulu army. He leaves 1,700 men at a camp near Isandlwana Mountain. By noon, 20,000 Zulu warriors hit that camp like a tidal wave. They use the horns of the buffalo formation, encirclement, overwhelming speed, pure discipline. The British are spread too thin, caught completely off guard. By 3 p.m., 300 British soldiers are dead. It's a massacre, the worst colonial defeat in British history. Here's where it gets insane. A Zulu reserve force, 4,000 warriors who didn't even fight at Isandlwana, decides to chase fleeing survivors across the Buffalo River. They're led by Prince Dabulamanzi, King Cetshwayo's half-brother. The king specifically ordered, do not cross into British Natal. Don't give them an excuse to call us aggressors. Dabulamanzi ignores him. These warriors missed the glory at Isandlwana. They want blood. They're heading straight for Rorke's Drift. Around 3 p.m. at Rorke's Drift, 2 survivors gallop in from Isandlwana, horses lathered, faces white. The camp's gone. Everyone's dead. 4,000 Zulus are coming. They'll be here in minutes. Lieutenant Chard, Bromhead, and Commissary James Dalton, a 47-year-old former sergeant major, have a choice: run or fight. Dalton says it bluntly: "We're burdened with wounded. We're in open country. They'll catch us and butcher everyone. We stay, we build walls. We fight. They have 2 hours, maybe less." They start stacking mealie bags, heavy sacks of corn, and biscuit boxes into makeshift walls connecting the 2 buildings. They cut firing holes in the walls. They barricade doors. It's desperate, improvised, pathetic looking. Then their native allies, 100 cavalry troops, see the Zulu army forming up on the hills. They panic. They desert. Just like that, the garrison drops from nearly 500 men to 139. 40 of those are too sick to fight. To 30 p.m., the Zulus appear, a massive wave pouring over the hills, shields glinting, voices rising in a war chant that makes the ground vibrate. The Indluyengwe regiment hits first, 600 warriors sprinting straight at the British position. Chard gives the order: fire at 500 yards. The Martini Henry rifles crack like thunder. Zulus jerk backwards, spin in the air, crumple mid-stride. But they keep coming. They're 40-1. Numbers don't lie. Here's what the British are facing: Zulu regiments, the Uthulwana, Indlondlo, Udloko, Indluyengwe. These aren't conscripts. They're married veterans with white shields, elite warriors. They formed the reserve at Isandlwana, so they're fresh. Rested, furious, they carry Ikalwa spears, short, brutal stabbing weapons, and massive oxhide shields. Some have captured British rifles from Isandlwana. They're fast, disciplined, and absolutely fearless. And there are 4,000 of them. The Zulus hit the south wall first, then veer left when British fire gets too heavy. They swarm around the hospital, attacking from the north. It's not one massive charge, it's waves, relentless waves, testing every weak point. Bromhead and 24-year-old Colour Sergeant Frank Bourne lead a bayonet charge to drive them back. Hand-to-hand fighting erupts. Shields slam against rifle butts. Spears thrust at barricades. Blood sprays across mealie bags. It's chaos. Private Frederick Hitch, 23 years old, is firing from behind the biscuit boxes. He hears bullets smacking into the boxes, a weird, dull thud. Assegay's whistle past his head and stick quivering in the corn sacks. He keeps firing. Reload, fire, reload, fire. The Martini Henry gets so hot, the barrel glows. Zulus grab at rifles poking through firing holes. If you leave a hole empty, they stick spears through and stab blindly inside. There's no safe position. The Zulus try to rush the front of the storehouse. Chard and Bromhead grab half a dozen men and counterattack with bayonets. They drive the warriors back, barely. Chard realizes they can't hold this much ground. The perimeter's too long, too many gaps. Casualties are mounting. At 6 p.m. he makes the call. Fall back! Abandon the north wall! Shorten the line! They retreat into the inner yard, cutting the defensive area in half. This decision abandons the front rooms of the hospital. That building is now a death trap. Inside are 9 wounded men, too sick to move, defended by just 6 soldiers. Privates Hook, Williams, Jones, Horrigan, and Corporals Allen and Dunbar. They're cut off, surrounded, and the Zulus know it. Warriors mass around the hospital smelling blood. They start throwing flaming spears onto the thatched roof. Within minutes, the building is burning. Smoke pours through the rooms. The slaughter is about to begin. Private Henry Hook is 28 years old, a model soldier, a Methodist, a teetotaler. The film Zulu portrays him as a drunk malingerer. Total lie. His daughters walked out of the premiere furious. Right now, Hook is in a small room with 9 patients and 1 doorway. Zulus are trying to force their way in. He's stabbing with his bayonet, firing point blank, reloading one-handed. Bodies pile up in the doorframe. He kills 5, then 6. The door won't hold much longer. The roof is burning. Flames lick through the thatch. Smoke chokes the air. Hook can't breathe. He has to abandon his room. But there's a native patient with a broken leg lying there, screaming. Hook tries to drag him. Can't. The Zulus smash through. Hook hears them asking the man questions. Then the screams stop. Hook escapes into the next room, slamming a flimsy door behind him. His hands are shaking. He's alone with 9 more patients. And the Zulus are coming. Private John Williams appears through the smoke, hacking at the wall with his bayonet like a madman. He's trying to break through to the next room, a desperate escape route. Zulus are smashing down doors behind them. Patients are screaming. The ceiling is on fire. Williams yells, "The Zulus are swarming all over the place. We have to get out now!" He punches a hole through the partition, big enough for a man. Hook starts dragging patients through. One by one, they pull the wounded through the hole Williams made. Some can crawl, some can't. Hook grabs Private Conley, broken leg, and drags him through. Conley's leg snaps again. He screams, "Doesn't matter. Move or die." They hack through another wall, another room. Zulus burst in behind them. Private Joseph Williams, not related to John, holds a window with his rifle. 14 dead Zulus end up piled beneath that window. He's firing, reloading, firing, not stopping, not even blinking. Hook and John Williams keep moving room to room, breaking through walls, dragging patients. It's a fighting retreat through a burning building with enemies on all sides. At one point, a Zulu grabs Hook's rifle and tries to yank it away. They're wrestling, pulling, snarling. Hook slams a cartridge in one-handed, pulls the trigger, blows the man's chest open at point-blank range. Blood sprays everywhere. Hook doesn't stop. Keeps moving, keeps dragging, keeps fighting. An assegai slashes across Hook's scalp. Blood pours down his face. He barely notices. Adrenaline's too high. Later he'll say it wasn't worth reporting. They reach the last room. One window faces the British defensive line outside. Williams starts shoving patients through. Some drop 6 feet to the ground. Some are caught by soldiers outside under heavy fire. Corporal Allen and Private Hitch, both already wounded, are out there catching falling patients while Zulus shoot at them. Absolute madness. Somehow, most of the patients make it out. The hospital is lost. Flames consume it, thatch, beams, walls, everything. Some patients don't make it. Sergeant Maxfield and Private Jenkins, too sick with fever, refuse to move. They're killed in their beds. Private Adams, same. Trooper Hunter. Private Cole runs outside in panic, cut down instantly. At least 4 men burn or are stabbed to death. It's brutal. It's horrifying. But Hook, Williams, Jones, they saved most of them, against impossible odds, through fire and blood. Here's the twist. The burning hospital accidentally saves the British. The flames light up the entire battlefield like a bonfire. Suddenly the defenders can see every Zulu warrior approaching. Silhouettes against the firelight. No more surprise attacks. No more shadows. The Zulus wanted to smoke them out. Instead, they gave the British perfect visibility. Every rifle shot counts now. The Martini Henrys crack in disciplined volleys. Zulus fall in heaps. The burning building becomes a tactical advantage. Irony at its finest, 7 p.m. The battle's been raging for over 2 hours. The British have fired thousands of rounds. Barrels are red-hot, literally glowing. Cartridges jam in overheated breeches. Soldiers use ramrods to punch them out, reload, fire again. The wounded keep fighting. Hitch and Allen, both bleeding, are ferrying ammunition boxes to the firing line. Men too hurt to shoot are reloading rifles and passing them forward. Nobody stops. Nobody surrenders. They're fighting like cornered animals. Because they are, the Zulus keep coming, wave after wave. They reach the barricades, grab at bayonets, try to yank rifles away. British soldiers stab downward from above. The mealy bag walls create a height advantage. Zulus can't climb over without exposing themselves. Still they try. A warrior leaps onto the barricade, shot in midair. Another grabs a rifle, stabbed through the throat. They're brave, insanely brave. But courage doesn't stop bullets, doesn't stop 22-inch bayonets. The pile of bodies grows taller. Colour Sergeant Bourne is everywhere, rallying men, directing fire, pulling wounded back from the line. He's 24 years old, barely older than most privates, but he moves like a veteran, calm, focused. Years later, he'll be asked how he stayed so cool. His answer, "I was too busy to be scared." Right now, he's the spine of this defense. When men falter, he's there. When ammunition runs low, he redistributes it. When Zulus break through, he's first with the bayonet. Private Dunbar is a sharpshooter. He kills 9 Zulus, one of them a chief. Each shot deliberate, aimed, precise. Ammunition's too precious to waste. Every bullet has to count. Meanwhile, the Zulus with rifles are firing back. Not accurately, most aren't trained, but volume matters. Bullets zip overhead, smack into walls, ricochet off stones. More British soldiers are killed by Zulu gunfire than spears. 10 of 13 wounded are shot, not stabbed. It's becoming a firepower battle, and the British are running out of firepower. And the British are running out of firepower. By 10:30 p.m., the hospital fire is dying down. The flames flicker, fade, dim, and with them, something changes. The Zulu attacks slow, not stopping, slowing. The warriors are exhausted. They've been fighting since Isandlwana this morning, marched 6 miles, fought for 6 straight hours. They're taking horrific casualties. Bodies everywhere, blood-soaked ground. The British are down to their final redoubt, just the storehouse and a tiny perimeter. But they're still firing, still fighting, still alive. Midnight. The attacks become sporadic, bursts of violence, then eerie silence, then more attacks. The British can hear the Zulus talking in the darkness, regrouping, debating. Some want to keep going. Some want to withdraw. They've lost hundreds. The British have lost 17. The math doesn't make sense anymore. Every charge costs more Zulu lives. They're fighting men behind walls with rifles that reload in seconds. Close combat is suicide, but they keep trying. Pride won't let them quit. Chard and Bromhead are walking the perimeter, checking ammunition, checking men. Some soldiers are half dead from exhaustion, propped against walls, still firing. Others have multiple wounds, bandages soaked through, still reloading. One man's been shot twice, stabbed once, still handing out cartridges. Chard does a count, 900 rounds left. Maybe one more serious assault and they're done. Out of bullets, out of options. He doesn't tell the men, keeps moving, keeps encouraging. Around 2 a.m. something shifts. The Zulu fire slackens. Fewer warriors rush the walls. The pressure eases, not much, but noticeably. The British don't understand why. Later they'll learn Zulu scouts spotted Lord Chelmsford's column approaching from Isandlwana in the distance. Reinforcements. The attack is over. But the defenders don't know that yet. They're still tense, still ready, fingers on triggers, eyes scanning the darkness for the next wave. It feels like a trap. Has to be a trap, 4 a.m. Firing stops completely. Silence, total eerie silence after 12 hours of screaming gunfire, explosions. The British hold their positions, waiting, nothing. Dawn starts breaking. Grey light creeping over the hills. They can see now. The ground is covered with Zulu dead, hundreds. Bodies piled near the barricades, sprawled across the yard, scattered up the hillside. Blood everywhere. The smell is indescribable. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. They're too exhausted, too stunned. 6 a.m. Zulus reappear on the ridge. Hearts drop. Here it comes, the final assault. Soldiers check rifles, fix bayonets, prepare to die. The Zulus stand there watching. Not advancing, just watching. Then they turn and walk away. No charge, no attack. They're leaving. Why? Then someone points. Dust cloud in the distance. Chelmsford's column. The Zulus saw them coming. They knew they couldn't take Rorke's drift and fight a fresh British force simultaneously. It's over. They're withdrawing. The defenders stare in disbelief. They won. Somehow, impossibly, they won. 7 a.m. Colour Sergeant Bourne breaks out the rum ration. Soldiers drink in silence, too tired to celebrate, too numb to feel relief. Private Hook, the lifelong teetotaler, takes a drink and mutters, "I feel I want something after all that." Someone finds a bottle of beer. Chard and Bromhead split it. That's the celebration. No cheering, no joy. Just exhausted men sitting among corpses, drinking, shaking, trying to process what just happened. Some are crying. Some are laughing. Most just stare blankly. 8 a.m. Lord Chelmsford rides in with the remnants of his column. He's expecting to find a massacre, another Isandlwana. Instead, he finds 139 filthy, blood-soaked, smoke-blackened soldiers standing among hundreds of Zulu dead. His jaw drops. He can't believe it. He asks Chard for a report. Chard, covered in soot and blood, gives a flat, emotionless summary. "We held, sir." That's it. Chelmsford looks around at the carnage, the burned hospital, the improvised barricades. He realizes what happened here. He's speechless. The casualty count comes in. British, 17 dead, 15 wounded. Zulu, at least 351 confirmed dead on the field. Probably 500 total, including those who crawled away to die. Some estimates go as high as 600, 875. The British fired approximately 20,000 rounds, each active soldier averaging 200 shots. They started with 20,000 rounds in stock. They ended with 900. One more charge, one more hour, and they'd have been out of ammunition. It was that close. Here's the math that doesn't make sense. 139 defenders against 4,000 attackers. 40-1 odds. Yet the kill ratio is 20-1 in favor of the British. Every British soldier killed an average of 2 Zulus over 12 hours. Each Zulu death required 80 bullets. The defenders lost barely 1 man per hour. By every military standard, this shouldn't have been possible. The numbers are insane. Yet they're real, documented, verified by both sides. It's one of history's most lopsided defensive victories. Now the grim cleanup begins. Bodies everywhere. Zulu wounded are found hiding in the ruins, in the bushes under overturned wagons. Lieutenant Horace Smith Dorian writes that an improvised gallows is erected. Zulu prisoners accused of treachery, probably guides who led attackers, are hanged. It's ugly, brutal. The British are traumatized, furious, vengeful. They've seen their comrades butchered at Isandlwana, nearly died themselves. Mercy is in short supply. The mood is dark. The smell of death hangs over everything. Chard orders the position fortified properly, real stone walls, proper defenses. They expect the Zulus to return. For days, soldiers work in the heat rebuilding while crows circle overhead. The birds grow so fat on corpses they can barely fly. It's surreal, nightmarish. Men are jumpy, seeing Zulus in every shadow. Some can't sleep, some won't stop talking. Shock sets in, what we'd now call PTSD. They defended this place, yes, but at a cost nobody talks about. Psychological scars that'll never heal. Psychological scars that'll never heal. Weeks later, Chard falls ill with fever, probably stress, exhaustion, exposure. He's evacuated to Ladysmith. Bromhead stays, commanding the rebuilt garrison. News of the battle spreads across South Africa, then back to Britain. At first, nobody believes it. 139 men against 4,000? Impossible. Must be exaggerated. Then the reports are confirmed. Testimonies match. Officers verify. The impossible happened. Suddenly, Rorke's drift becomes a sensation. The press goes wild. Britain needs a victory after Isandlwana's humiliation. Queen Victoria herself takes notice. She orders immediate recognition. The Victoria Cross, Britain's highest military honour, is awarded to 11 defenders. The most ever given for a single action by one regiment. 7 go to men of the 24th Regiment alone. It's unprecedented. Lieutenant Chard gets one. Bromhead, Hook, Williams, Hitch, Allen, Jones, Reynolds the surgeon, Dalton the commissary, Schiess, a Swiss soldier, the only non-Commonwealth recipient. Had posthumous VCs existed, Private Joseph Williams would have received one too. He was recommended but died in the hospital. Artists immortalize the battle. Lady Elizabeth Butler paints The Defence of Rorke's Drift, a massive oil painting shown at the Royal Academy in 1881. It draws huge crowds. Everyone wants to see the defenders, the walls, the heroism. Alphonse-Marie Adolphe de Neuville contributes his own version. The story spreads across Europe. Rorke's Drift becomes shorthand for impossible bravery, for standing against overwhelming odds. It enters the mythology of the British Empire. The defenders become living legends, whether they wanted to or not. But here's what history forgets. Most defenders didn't live long, happy lives afterward. Private Robert Jones, hospital hero, left the army, became a farm labourer, suffered crippling mental health issues from the trauma, committed suicide in 1898, aged 41. Private William Jones contracted chronic rheumatism, couldn't find work, pawned his Victoria Cross to survive, died in a Manchester workhouse, a pauper's grave. The heroes Britain celebrated? Britain abandoned them a decade later. No pensions, no support, no care. Private Hook fared slightly better, barely. Left the army in 1880, worked as a museum duster thanks to intervention by Bromhead and Lord Chelmsford. Died of tuberculosis in 1905, aged 54. Private Hitch became a cab driver in London, later drove motorised taxis. died of pneumonia at 56. His funeral drew 1,000 London taxi drivers in procession, a tribute from working men who remembered him. Colour Sergeant Bourne lived longest, died VE Day 1945, aged 91, last survivor. He saw 2 world wars, outlived them all. Lieutenant Chard received promotion, honours, an audience with Queen Victoria. She sent a wreath to his funeral inscribed, "A mark of admiration and regard for a brave soldier. He served overseas, rose to colonel, then got cancer." Died 1897, only 18 years after Rorke's drift. Bromhead promoted, served in Burma and India, died at 46 in Allahabad. Both officers dead before 50. The battle made them famous. Fame didn't make them happy, didn't make them whole. War doesn't work that way. The Zulu perspective is rarely told. Prince Dabulamanzi returned home in disgrace, disobeyed the king, lost hundreds of warriors, gained nothing. His regiments were humiliated. The Guthulwana in Dlondlo, elite warriors with white shields, decimated attacking a supply depot. King Chetshwayo was furious. The raid violated his strategy, gave Britain propaganda, proved nothing. Zulu oral histories remember Rorke's drift as a tactical blunder, a waste of brave men. They don't celebrate it. They mourn it. They mourn it. Here's the brutal truth. Rorke's drift changed nothing strategically. The Zulu War continued for 5 more months. More battles, Kambula, Gingindlovu, Ulundi. The Zulus fought brilliantly, but couldn't overcome British firepower and numbers. On July 4, 1879, Chelmsford's forces crushed the Zulu army at Ulundi. Final battle. King Chetshwayo was captured in August. Zululand was partitioned, the monarchy suppressed, the military system dismantled. Everything Frere wanted from the start. The empire got what it wanted, always does, but Rorke's drift won the propaganda war. Isandlwana was Britain's shame, 1,300 dead, colours captured, total disaster. Rorke's drift became Britain's redemption, 139 men, impossible odds, glorious victory. The press focused on the triumph, buried the catastrophe. Paintings, poems, songs celebrated the defenders. British schoolchildren learned about it for generations. The message, British soldiers are invincible when defending civilization. Never. Mind that civilization meant invading someone else's country. Never mind the 500 Zulu dead. Never mind colonialism's brutality. Heroes sell papers. Complexity doesn't. The battle shaped modern defensive doctrine. Military academies studied it for decades. How to fortify quickly. How to manage ammunition under pressure. How junior officers can lead in crisis. How discipline defeats numbers. The Martini Henry rifle proved its worth. Single-shot breechloader that could fire 10+ rounds per minute in trained hands. The tactics became textbook. Interlocking fields of fire, fallback positions, ammunition resupply under fire, fighting withdrawal through structures. Rorke's drift became a case study. It's still taught today. The 1964 film Zulu immortalized the battle for modern audiences. Stanley Baker as Chard, Michael Caine as Bromhead, his breakout role. The film's mostly accurate, surprisingly. Gets the timeline right, the tactics, the desperation. Though it invents drama that didn't exist, like Bromhead being deaf and arrogant, or Hook being a drunk. Hook's daughters walked out of the premiere furious at the slander, but the film works. It captures the chaos, the fear, the impossible courage. Millions saw it. The legend grew. Here's what Rorke's drift teaches us, what every military disaster-turned-miracle teaches us. Desperation breeds excellence. When retreat isn't an option, when you're cornered, when the odds are impossible, humans find something extra. The defenders weren't superhuman. They were terrified, exhausted, ordinary men in an impossible situation. But they had 3 things: good weapons, good leaders, and no alternative. That combination is devastatingly effective. It's not romantic. It's not glorious. It's survival math. Kill or die. They chose kill. The lesson the British learned. Firepower matters more than numbers. The lesson the Zulus learned: you can't charge rifles with spears no matter how brave you are. The lesson history should learn but doesn't: courage exists on both sides. Zulu warriors charged into gunfire again and again, knowing they'd die. British soldiers fought with broken bodies and burning buildings collapsing around them. Everyone there was brave. Everyone there suffered. But only one side gets statues. Only one side gets films. That's empire for you. Today, Rorke's Drift is a museum. The battlefield preserved, the mission station rebuilt. Tourists come from around the world, mostly British, some South African, some just curious. They walk the perimeter, see the walls, read the plaques. 11 Victoria Cross recipients, 17 British dead, hundreds of Zulu dead. The numbers still don't make sense. The guides tell the story both ways now. British heroism and Zulu bravery. Progress, maybe, or just better marketing. History's complicated. Museums aren't. Here's the final truth about Rorke's Drift. It was a miracle born from disaster. Impossible odds met impossible courage. Makeshift defenses held against elite warriors. Junior officers with no experience made brilliant decisions under fire. Soldiers fought on despite wounds, exhaustion, terror. A burning building became an advantage. 900 bullets left meant the difference between legend and massacre. And 11 Victoria Crosses told Britain what it wanted to hear. We're still invincible. We're still heroes. We still rule, even when we're losing, especially when we're losing.